just two worlds just completely incompatible. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, also happy birthday to all the August 16th out there. It's a very special day, and I hope you make it all about you, because you fucking deserve it. Okay, all to all the Leo children, but you know, all the August 16th, take the day for you. You are more valuable than you know it. Anyway, so why on earth would I ever go to a mosque as a gay person? You would ask. Well, I am an anthropology major, and for our last assignment, what we had to do was learn about a religion, like observation. I get to be there and take notes and stuff about a religion that we never done before. And I was like, well, I grew up Catholic as a Mexican because we're born out of the uterus Catholic by default. So I was Catholic when I was younger, and then I grew up. So I'm not Catholic anymore or religious at all. And I was like, well, I'm learning Arabic and pretty interested in Middle Eastern stuff. I was like, I'll just do Islam. So I was like, cool, okay, cool, we'll do that. Okay, great, whatever. And I was like pretty nervous. Actually, not pretty. I was like, I'm about to be in an environment where people are, at least one person, 100% is going to think that my existence is sinful. What could go wrong, right? And I was like, well, you know, like what's the worst that can? So let's start from, this story might take 20, 10, or an hour. I don't know, but we're gonna get through it. So basically, let's start from the beginning of how we got there in the first place. Because it's an observation, I don't want to be intrusive and be like, well, like I just standing there like this in the corner. I didn't. What I didn't want to be was like this. That's what I didn't want. We're not doing that. Because that's creepy and weird, and why would you ever do that ever? So I emailed the imam, which is like the head person of a mosque. I'm pretty sure they like say the stuff. Oh my god, there's so much to fucking talk about. Jesus. So this was also during Ramadan, back in March, I think. Yeah, it was during Ramadan, and so I was like, I'm pretty sure that they're busy with more stuff than usual outside of service. And so I emailed the imam. I was like, hey, assalamu alaikum, what's up? Not like that casual though, but I was like, hey friend, I'm learning about Islam. Can I like be an observer in like a Juma prayer service, which is like a Friday, like weekly Friday thing that they have at mosques? And then he responded, what? And he was like, yeah, sure, you can come by to the mosque so we can talk about it. And I was like, can a phone call work? And then he told me one day, I was like, you can come to the mosque, we'll be here till like sunrise. It was 12 fucking a.m. I was like, you have me effed up if you think that I'm gonna go walk to the mosque at 12 fucking a.m. because that's unsafe as hell. I tried organizing a time because like the end date for the assignment was coming up, and I still you have to get the notes and then like do some like shit with them. So I was like, hey, and we were like missing each other. We weren't getting a time set. So I was like, okay, like, hey friend, can you like actually help, like work with me here? So I email him again. Crickets. Literal crickets. And I was like, wow, you know what? It's Ramadan. He's probably busy, and I am not entitled to shit. So I was like, you know what? I was like, but I need a grade. So I was like, I can't just like not do this. So I had to get my ass up and go to the mosque by myself. And I was like extremely nervous. I was like, I don't know what to do. I mean, I kind of do, because I was like, you dress modestly for that. But I was like, I already dress modestly anyway. Like every time I go outside, you only ever see my hands and my face, and that's it. Ignore this, by the way. I hit my head on the fucking shower door, and it's healing. But so basically, I have to like, well, you know, it is what it is. That was corny as fuck. Go to the mosque. I'm dressed modestly. And when I get there, my heart's beating really fast because I'm like, oh my god, I don't really belong here at all. So I'm just sitting there like, standing there right outside of it as like a service is going on. keep in mind, this is what I look like because whenever I go out in public, I always have this scarf that I wear around my face. It's the same scarf you see in my profile picture. And I also had sunglasses on. So I basically look like this. Fucking clothes, Jesus. Least conspicuous thing ever. But that's how I went there. Obviously, I was dressed fine. I didn't wear anything that you're not supposed to, and I usually don't want to wear anything you're not supposed to anyway. So basically, I get there. I'm standing around. I have to take material notes. So I go around the mosque. I'm like, what do I see? What color? Like, what's the architecture? I have the notes right here, actually. I notice it was like blue and white, kind of like a budget version of that one mosque in Turkey, like the blue and white one. I don't know what it's called, but if you know, you know, which Muslims probably do know. It looked like a budget version of that, just really small. And a lot of white. I saw a lot of Arabic scriptures, and I was like, what the heck are those? I mean, they're pretty. Like, not like a derogatory, like, what the heck are those? Just like, oh, what are those? And then I was like, I asked my Arabic teacher like the following day. I was like, oh, those are surahs, probably, or like probably surahs. They're like things from the Quran and stuff. I don't know the difference between a surah and a hadith or literally anything relating to that. So I was like, okay, cool, surah. That's nice. And so I noticed a lot of dome structures, a lot of pillars, a lot of white. There was like a little courtyard area for like children, I'm pretty sure. Let's see. There was a particularly right. I remember seeing this one thing. It was like a particularly large pillar on one end of the mosque. And I was like, what the hell is that for? And then I discovered I think it's called a minaret. I probably fucked up that pronunciation, but it's called a minaret, and that's where like I think the adhan comes out. The adhan is just a call to prayer. Which, by the way, when I was waiting out there, all wrapped up in my scarf with my sunglasses, waiting outside, I was quite literally just like hearing the adhan. I was like, oh, what is this? What is this melody that I hear? I was like, wow, that's actually really, really, really nice to listen to. It kind of like tickled my brain a little bit and made my arms feel a little bit numb. Like not like in like a weird way, and like, oh, that's like really like you feel something with it, you know? And they don't call it singing because I'm not gonna go into the logistics of whether or not music is haram, but they don't call it singing. They call it melodic recitation because they have a thing called like tajweed or something. It's like different techniques that you use in your voice to create like the. I'm not gonna mimic it, but to create like the recitation of the Quran. And so I was like, oh, that sounds really good. Anyway, moving on. So basically, I'm standing outside there. The for the first because there's like two services, one in the morning and then right at noon. I was like standing outside during the morning because I was like scared as fuck to go in. So I was like staring. So I was like standing outside. So I was like standing outside, and basically, as I was observing, I was like taking notes of like what I see because we also have to observe like what kind of people we see, things that surprised us, socioeconomic status if we can, which I couldn't determine. A lot of Sudanese people, a little bit, I noticed, because there were also people interactions that I have to get through, but that's besides the point. So basically, I'm taking notes, and I noticed that men are going through one side, and then women kind of walk past it and go around the other way to someplace else. So they enter through different spots. So I was like, okay, great. So I'm a man, so I'm like, well, I'm just gonna follow the guys or whatever. Okay, and then one thing that particularly surprised the hell out of me was some guy had a tattoo when he was walking in, and my eyes just went like, oh, I thought that wasn't allowed in Islam. And I was like, but no one else seemed to be like, you know? So I was like, oh, maybe it's like not like that bad here. And they're like, and they can like, I don't have words to describe this. I'm losing my articulation, but um, I was like, wow, that really surprised me. Huh. And so I took that down. This guy, we're gonna call him what's what's an Arabic name? Specifically, what's a Saudi Arabic name? Saudi male name. This is irrelevant, by the way. This is relevant. we're gonna call him Abdullah. So we we have Abdullah, right? He pulls up in the car, right? And he goes, you could just go in, right? And I was like, what? Excuse me, someone talking to me? He was inviting me into the mosque. He's basically telling me like you don't need to be like wait out here, like you can just go in and stuff. And I was like, oh, thanks, friend. But the reason I'm hesitating and waiting out here is because some people in there think that my existence is sinful and that I should burn in hell. So that's why I'm so on edge a little bit. But we're gonna go over how those feelings change as well. And so I was like, eventually I do walk in. So I walk in through where the men go through, right? As like the Juma prayer like starts resuming, people start walking in and stuff. So I walk in. I noticed that people are taking their shoes off and they're putting them on racks. And so I was like, well, monkey see, monkey do. So I take my shoes off, my thick, heavy Doc Martens, and I put them on the rack. And I see everyone's going like up the stairs into like the main prayer room. So I was like, okay, cool. So I follow them, kind of like calm but still on edge a little bit. And so I get in there and I take note of what the room is like. A bunch of like, this is the room, right? There's a bunch of pillars in like a circle and then one like dome area as well, which I thought was really pretty. Something that didn't shock me was the little dent in the wall where the imam stands that's like facing Mecca. I know that that's there. There's surahs still, a lot of tile decorations, very pretty, very like intricate. I was like, oh, these are nice. And then the floor looked like it was, what did I describe it as? Right, there were like pretty rug patterns that look intentionally made for one person, kind of like doors, but like on the ground. But they were really pretty anyway. And there were also some nice chandeliers with one giant one in the dome, which I was like, ah, how pretty. And I was like, that's great. And so I sit there. No, I don't sit there. I stand there, right? And so I'm like watching these people come in, trying to figure out like, okay, what am I supposed to do? Because I wasn't invited in because the imam ghosted me. And so I had to kind of figure it out myself. I was like, okay, like, do I just like do something, or like, is there someone like I stand? I don't know how this works. And so I'm like, okay, chill. You need to calm the fuck down. So I'm standing there. People are walking in. Some people are doing this like people were doing this little initial prayer thingy that like individuals. It wasn't like organized. It was individuals doing their little thingy. That's the best I can describe. Just thingy. And then they sit down. And I noticed particularly the way that they sit down is very casual, and it's not like serious. It's like there was some guy leaning up against the pillar, like with his knee in front of him and stuff. And I was like, oh, okay, so we could pretty much just sit however we want, right? And so I was like, okay, cool. Because I've never done this before in my sexuality, I'm like, I don't want to be in the midst of a crowd. I am at the very back, right? And so and so I'm kind of like sitting there scoping out the room while in the back, and I noticed there's like one little like fenced walled area. I noticed that that's where like women were like like organized in that little quarter of the it was like a literal quarter of the room for women. I was like 3/4 for men, a quarter for women. I was like, oh, that's interesting. It was like most of the room is for men, but then it was literally like penny nickel dime nickel penny nickel dime penny penny nickel dime nickel penny nickel quarter of a room for women. And I was like, oh, well, that's interesting. It's very interesting. Why is that? And then I never got an answer. Well, I didn't ask, but I was like, in my head, I was like, what's that for? Interesting disparity. But anyway, so I basically am watching people come in, more people start coming in and stuff. This one guy, as I'm standing there, I look distressed a little bit. Because everyone else is like sitting down, I'm standing still as people were walking in, and this guy noticed. And so he kind of like came up to me just like, you don't have to be so far in the back. And I was like, what? Because again, I'm on like high alert. And so my brain is like, someone talks to me. I'm like, excuse me, what? Did I hear that? Or was those the voices, or what is this? And so like when he talked to me, I was like, what'd you say? What? And so he repeated, he's like, yeah, you don't have to, you can be up in the front. You don't have to be so far back there, telling me that I can like be up with them. And I was like, oh, you're so kind, you friend. And that kind of like eased the nerves a little bit. And so I was like a lot calmer after that. And I didn't move at all, by the way. I stood in the same exact place. But I was like relaxed and stuff, so it was fine. And then eventually, when like the room like started to get like full, like actually like full to the brim, and I was like, well, like, and like sitting down, I was like, okay, great. So what happens now? Is like, do we do something or what? And then the imam comes in, and they do like an initial, like, what is it? Like something. He says something in Arabic and like a that melodic recitation thing. People are saying, and then we like sit down, and I just like, oh, thank fuck, we can sit down, and I can just like do nothing. I can just observe what happens, what they say, what they talk about. I'm not getting into what they talked about. But I was like, okay, great, we're fine now. So I sit down, and then let's see, speakers. Yep, they had a mix of Arabic and English throughout the entire service. They were sitting casual while listening to others, seemed to standing, kneeling. Yep. Oh yeah, and then I also noticed whenever the imam mentioned Allah's name, he said something after it that begins with an S. I don't know what it. I like. I don't think it was subna Allah. Subnallah. I don't know if that was it, but it sounded something with like an S after every single time after he said his name. It was always that. Um, and then the imam spoke a lot of Arabic phrases, and then I noticed like a lot of, if not all, the men seemed to like bow their heads a little bit. Um, but yeah. And then so basically the imam is talking about like a message or something, like some just stuff, right? It's not important. As the whole time I'm kind of just like taking, I was like, this seems very like nice and calm and relaxing. I was like, oh wow, this is very pretty atmosphere. Wow. And stuff. Obviously, that was all in my head. I wasn't looking like a freak doing that in real life. So then like basically fast forward to the end, and we get there, or like towards the end of the service, the imam just basically goes, like, everyone stands up, and because everyone stands, I also stand, right? I don't want to look out of place. And then he says something, I forget what it is, and then basically they do like they did this thing, they did it like repeatedly, so they would like kind of like bow, get up again, and then bow even more. Like I forget what it was exactly. So basically, he uh he says some stuff, and then we all do that. And the part that kind of almost made me shit myself was when he said Allahu Akbar, and everyone got down on the ground, and I was like, oh shit. I was actually like so not prepared for that because I didn't want to be the only one standing. And then I realized, I was like, wait, everyone's faces is literally touching the floor or like at the floor. Nobody would have noticed if I didn't do anything. So I was like, okay, fine. So I just basically sat down the whole time when they repeated it again, when they stood up and then did all this stuff. But I was like, oh my god, don't do that again. So basically they go through the motion again, and I just sat down, like I said, and then it comes to an end, and then he asked for donations and stuff, and then I was like, well, that's my cue to leave. So I basically walked down, I put my shoes back on, and then the same guy who came up to me earlier and he said, you don't have to be so far back. He comes up to me and he's just like, so what did you think of it? As we were both putting our shoes on, I was like, oh, I thought it was great. Yeah. And he kind of smiled and nodded. And then as we were walking outside, he said, you're always welcome here. And I was like, um, oh, was that an unconditional statement? Because I don't, you don't, yeah, you don't exactly know, but I didn't, because I don't want to make assumptions about people. I didn't go to the mosque assuming everyone was homophobic, because that's not fair, and that's low-key kind of fucked up. So I was just like, it's a reality, the of homo intolerance. It does exist in that community slash air slash people, but I was like, but I'm not assuming all of them are. Just like, go in there, see how it is, you'll be fine. It's great. So I walk out, right? And then I'm just like taking deep breaths. My heart rate's de-escalating. I see charity tables and very, very pretty rugs, and what I'm assuming are little travel size Qurans, like kind of like little crackers. And so I'm like, okay, that's cool. And so basically, then I leave. And reason I mentioned that Saudi guy, I called him Abdullah just now is because I saw him again at a Saudi Eid event. The reason I went to that was because I also fasted during Ramadan, because I was like, Islam, I don't really know what it's about and stuff. So I'm just gonna like try this, see what it is, kind of see like what it does, what it's for, learn more about it, kind of like partake in the actual fasting part itself. That alone is a conversation for another day, because that was a whole very difficult experience. But so anyway, I went to that Eid event because I also like experiencing culture a lot as an anthropology major. So I went there, right? And then Abdullah was there as well. And because I was also wearing a scarf while also knitting another scarf out from my bag. And he recognized me, um, and he basically came up to me and he was like, "Oh, hey, like, I remember you. What did you think of the mosque?" And I was like, caught off guard because I mean, that's all. The Saudi event is also another conversation, but I was like, "Oh, I thought it was really great, yeah." And then he basically also said like, "Yeah, you're also like always welcome there as well." And I was like, "Y'all are so nice. You make me blush." So basically, yeah. Um, Overall, what would I rate it? I think I think I would rate it a solid 7 out of 10 experience. Yeah. I feel like that sounds nice. I feel like a good 7 out of 10 just kind of encapsulates how I felt about the whole thing, especially considering my um I don't have the luxury of ignoring certain beliefs and stuff, so I kind of can't give it anything higher than that, but it was very nice actually. I was kind of pleasantly surprised by it. I didn't walk out feeling threatened or anything. I was actually quite the opposite. I actually felt really like, I was like, wow, that was so nice. How nice. And then I was like kind of giddy the whole day. So that's basically what happened there. My experience in a mosque for the first time ever in my life, while also being a homosexual. But yeah, so I say it was nice though.